Hello, everyone. This is Miles Bone with Business Protection for Entrepreneurial Growth, ENT 630. So essentially, what is business protection? The protection of a business is made up of structurally vital components that help a business's security, enable high legal standing, and positively impacts the longevity of that company. Essentially, to protect a business means to protect the assets of that business, protect the consumers of that business, its goods and services, and the employees that work for that company and that business. Business protection can involve firms taking insurance policies out, which helps to ensure their physical assets are secured. Through insurance purchased for a given business, that business becomes protected from all things that can negatively impact a business, which can come out at unexpected times. Covering a corporation through various insurance policies means protecting the means of that business for the present and the future hardships that a company might face and could potentially face. Another important aspect is understanding how to protect a business. There are various ways to protect a business, and one of the main ways and the main concepts of protecting a business is purchasing insurance policies. John O'Hare, the managing director at Cameron Chase, identifies that insurance policies that businesses purchase are intended to protect corporate profits, protect corporate debt, and keep it helps companies keep up with business trading. He also notes that there are insurance policies that are developed differently to provide the right type of business protection for different companies. So different companies do different types of business protection through different types of insurance. What are those types of business insurance? Bodily injury liability. There are four main types. The first being bodily injury liability. The second being personal injury liability. You also have medical payments and tenants' legal liability. Bodily injury liability. Bodily injury liability is a fundamental component of general liability insurance because this type of insurance coverage revolves around damages that happen from a company's employees to a third party property or a third party's property. This kind of business protection insurance also covers when an injury occurs to an individual by your business. An example of this would be if a business was to had cleaned up a floor through mopping up a mess that someone had spilled a drink on the floor. By not putting up a caution sign, if someone was to go in there and not see a caution sign and not know that the floor was slippery and was wet and had possibly caused them bodily injury, and that person ends up falling due to their not being an awareness of that floor being slippery, then this type of liability helps cover that kind of insurance and those types of legal issues that could occur from that. Personal injury liability involves coverage for a company when either the business owner or the employees are sued for slander or libel. McKinney states that usually the types of libel and slander lawsuits occur when a company's accusations or the accusations of a company arise of slandering a person's character, reputation within a community, or defamatory statements. Medical payment policies. These are types of policies through general liability insurance that involves having insurance for when a personal injury occurs on a company's property. If the injuries that occur at a business are caused by an employee of that business, medical payments for the person that is injured will be covered. Many cases and incidences where personal injury occurs due to an employee's involved in a company trying to stay out of court, it essentially helps by companies trying to stay out of court by offering the person who was injured the payment of their medical expenses, so they could have their medical expenses paid for. Tenant liability. Tenant liability essentially protects businesses through insuring those businesses in the events of environmental damage, to the property that a company rents their office or commercial buildings from. An example of insurance coverage from tenant liability would be if an employee was to accidentally damage a property the company is renting from. Essentially, this coverage in the example provided above, the insurance coverage through this part of general liability insurance would provide restitution to the landlord that the company rents their office spacing from. Other forms of business protection. There are two other forms of business protection. Those forms include office content insurance policies and umbrella insurance policies. Each of these types of business protection should be accompanied by general liability insurance policies to further protect the company in various ways. We will discuss those various ways, and essentially umbrella insurance policies are able to fall under extra coverage and as well as office content policies. Speaking of office content insurance, this type of policies and this type of insurance focuses towards companies that operate from real estate commercial properties. These types of aspects that make up office content insurance involves premise and equipment protection, staff and customer protection, and the protection of outgoing costs if a company is not trading for a specified period. The features of office insurance policies include public liability, employer's liability, public or business interruption, office buildings insurance, and office contents insurance. Getting into the second form of the two other types of insurance protection a business can have that can further help insure them as a company is help understood by the managing editor at National Underwriter, Rosalie Donlin, who helps shed light on umbrella insurance policies for businesses regardless of their size through defining how this type of insurance works as an addition to general liability insurance policies. Donlin states that most insurance companies are hesitant to provide businesses with umbrella insurance policies unless those businesses have primary forms of business insurance coverage, such as general liability insurance. Umbrella insurance policies, just some extra information about it. Essentially, these types of policies act as a blanket of coverage over primary liability insurance, accompanied by insurance in the case that the fundamental insurance policies for a company has already been exhausted by a loss in the business. The primary emphasis behind this type of insurance is decided primarily on an individual's insurer's judgment and differs from other liability insurances that don't vary much from insurer to insurer, such as general liability insurance. Donlin notes that rating the Rosalie Donlin, who was the source we had just recently brought up, notes that rating the company that the rating that accompanies a business through the amount of umbrella insurance policies assessments depends on essentially the risk and the individual risk of that company. Thank you for watching this, and I hope you were able to gain some insight about this topic. Thank you.